Welcome, 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 everybody. I'm so glad you came tonight. I know if you're like me, I showed up because I want to hear what the ugly story is behind turmeric. I just, I think it's pretty wonderful and pretty awesome. But obviously, Dr. Jeremy has the scoop on something that even maybe I don't know about. And I just had to come and find out. So, Dr. Jeremy, if you would, why don't you take it away and share with us the ugly side of turmeric?
Welcome, welcome. Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome Dixie and Julie and Sue and Melanie. Guys, drop where you're tuning in from in the chat. Would love to hear that. So we're going to be talking tonight about turmeric and curcumin. Would love to know also if you have tried it in the past, or maybe you're trying it now, what your experience was. Did you have a good experience? Did you have no experience? Would love to know what your experience has been in the past on curcumin or turmeric. Maybe you use it daily, maybe you've tried it. But I'm going to share some information I think will be quite eye-opening about this topic. And but my name is Dr. Jeremy Thornton. I'm an internist, a chiropractic physician, a clinical nutritionist from Missouri. Been in practice 23 years, primarily working with autoimmune and chronic inflammatory and degenerative conditions. And so turmeric and curcumin has been a part of my life and practice for many, many years. Literally tried dozens of different formulas, different products, different versions. And there's always been a struggle to find something that was just very therapeutic, and I'm going to explain why that is. Let me see here. I'm going to try to pull up my screen and see if I can share that with you. You guys see my screen?
It's perfect.
Awesome. All right. Now, if I can get my mouse to work, we'll be in good shape. All right. But first tonight, this information is for just for educational purposes only. We're not here to diagnose or treat any medical conditions. If there's anything in here that you find valuable that you would like to incorporate in your own life, make sure that you cover that with your doctor. So let's talk about first what turmeric is. Again, guys, the chat is open. If you guys think of questions, just drop them in the chat as we go along. We'll circle back around and make sure we get to those at some point. But turmeric is actually, let me move you guys out of the way a little bit. Turmeric is actually the root of the curcumin longa. You've probably seen pictures of turmeric that looks something like this down at the bottom. It's actually the root of a really pretty plant. But the turmeric down here is the root. It has over, some argue, up to 6,000 years of use as a medicine. It's a foundational herb in Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. It's been called Ushadi, the herb above all others. It's been called Jayanti, which means victorious over diseases. It's native to Southeast Asia and India. Traditionally, it's been used in cooking, of course, as a spice. It's been used as a dye, if you've ever got it on your clothes, or you know exactly why that is. And of course, for health purposes as well. So these are the different components that we know about that are in turmeric, or if we ground up turmeric into turmeric powder. We have these curcuminoids here, these different ones here. This top one is called curcumin 1. We have these turmerones in there as well, and we have these other compounds as part of turmeric. We should go the other way. The star of the show, really, in the studies they've done on turmeric is curcumin, right? It's a component of turmeric. About 10% or less of turmeric is made up of curcumin. It's the main bioactive component. I call it the therapeutic component, right? The medicinal component of turmeric is by far the most studied. It's actually a polyphenol that belongs in the ginger family. It is lipophilic nature, meaning that it's lipid-like substance. It dissolves in fat, does not dissolve in water, which is going to be one of the challenges we're going to talk about pretty soon here. So if you just go into PubMed and look at the National Library of Medicine and just type in curcumin and do a search, you're going to find over 18,000, probably 19,000 results by now papers and studies on curcumin. By far the most studied natural medicine on the planet. And many will say that, that curcumin is the most powerful medicinal plant known to man. And you know that if science is this excited about a natural substance, that it has to be pretty amazing, right? We don't spend a lot of money on natural cures if there's not just some phenomenal evidence that there is some benefit there. And so when science gets really excited about something, then that probably means that there's some value there. Here are just a few of curcumin effects. This is out of the journal called Nutrients from 2018. There is probably the most popular or most well-known benefit is its anti-inflammatory activity, right? Its antioxidant activity. It has anti-cancer effects. There's a ton of research on that. There's neuroprotection, and there's evidence of helping in cognitive diseases and neurodegenerative diseases. Hepatoprotection means liver protection, liver fibrosis, fatty liver, things like that. Cardiovascular protection, there's a ton of research on how it helps in cardiovascular disease and vascular inflammation and circulation. Anti-diabetic effects, it has ability to increase insulin sensitivity in our cells, and immune regulation. As primarily working with autoimmune disease is one of the things I'm super excited about, is its benefits with autoimmune patients and calming and regulating their immune system. And so those are some of the more well-researched effects of curcumin. This is another study, potential therapeutic effects of curcumin, the anti-inflammatory agent against neurodegenerative, cardiovascular, pulmonary, metabolic, autoimmune, and neoplastic diseases. That's a mouthful, and that's a tall order, right? But this is where the research is showing curcumin being very promising in all of these areas. This is a chart of all the various inflammatory pathways that are inhibited by curcumin. And that's a lot of different pathways, right? And this is out of the same study, the different effects on curcumin on different pro-inflammatory diseases. And so they've kind of, it's cool that they've kind of put a chart together of where some of the most of the research is located in different disease processes. So you can probably see these the skin diseases here, right? Like scleroderma and psoriasis and eczema, neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's and MS and Parkinson's and epilepsy. Other inflammatory diseases like inflammatory bowel disease and arthritis and pancreatitis and ulcerative colitis and asthma. Other diseases here, infectious diseases, endocrine disorders, heart disease, skeletal abnormalities, different cancers. So you can tell that there's just almost nothing that curcumin doesn't seem to affect, right? And its research is well-founded, and it's pretty exciting. If you just go into PubMed.gov and search curcumin and just about any health condition you might think of, put that in there and click search. And you'll see all the different research papers and articles and studies that are out on curcumin and that particular health condition or disease process. There's always a but, right? Whenever we talk about something that is so amazing, it's like, okay, what's the drawback, right? There's got to be a catch. What's the catch? And this is the ugly side, right? That's what I termed this talk tonight was. Not only the good, the bad, the ugly, but what is the ugly secret or the ugly truth about curcumin? And here is what it is. And that has to do with bioavailability. And what that means is we're trying to get a lipid-like substance. Turmeric and curcumin is a lipid-like substance that we're trying to get into not only through the digestive process, through the intestinal lining, past the liver, into the bloodstream, which is mostly water, by the way, right? And we know that oil and water does not mix very well. So that's a challenge, just getting that substance into the bloodstream, much less into the cells, which is where the magic happens, right? So we're trying to get this not only in the bloodstream, but into the cells, the organs, the tissues, that we can see these amazing effects. And that's one of the things that we've noticed in a lot of the research studies when you look, especially years ago, before they started trying to find ways to improve bioavailability, is that they were doing a lot of these studies, these anti-cancer studies, these anti-inflammatory studies, these neurological studies were done in a lab, right? They were done in petri dishes and cell cultures and animal studies. And they were seeing all these just ridiculous benefits of curcumin that was super exciting. But then they would try to transfer that over to a human study, right? And there's where the problem lies, is they were not seeing those same effects that they were seeing in a lab, in a test tube, as they were seeing in humans, because they could not pass the bioavailability test. They could not get it into the bloodstream in sufficient amounts. They couldn't get it into the cells. And if you can't get it into the body, right, we're not going to see, it doesn't matter how exciting it is in the lab, we're not going to see those benefits in our health. And so you find it interesting to know that the percentage of curcumin that you ingest that is actually absorbed at the intestinal level is only 10%. Okay, not super exciting, right? If we're talking about whole turmeric, we're even talking about less than that. So if you take 500 milligrams of turmeric, less than 1 milligram of curcumin actually gets to the into the bloodstream, or even possibly into the organs. So if we took 500 milligrams of turmeric, that's going to only have about 10 milligrams of curcumin. By the time that goes through the digestive process, most of it is actually rapidly metabolized and excreted. That shows down here 90 to 93% is in the toilet. So we might get a milligram of curcumin if we took 500 milligrams of turmeric. Okay. And this study here talks about, and the research is full of studies talking about the problems of curcumin and its bioavailability. This is the ugly truth part of curcumin and turmeric. This paper here, it says that curcumin has been confirmed to exhibit very poor bioavailability, with many studies showing very low or even undetectable concentrations in the blood and extraintestinal tissues. Major reasons postulated are due to its poor absorption, rapid metabolism, chemical instability, and rapid systemic elimination. And so they're not able to get it into the bloodstream, and if they are, it's not there very long. And I'm going to show some more studies about that. Here's an article here that says curcumin will waste your time. This is a medical article here where they talk about, so what do you get when you look closely at the molecules and its activities? Well, for one thing, curcumin stability, pharmacokinetics are absolutely terrible. It's less than 1% bioavailable, and its half-life under physiological conditions is measured in minutes. So that's not terribly exciting to get something in your bloodstream measured in minutes, right? And if you look over here, sorry, I'm moving you guys out of the way on my screen here. Much effort and funding has been wasted on curcumin research, says Gunda George, co-editor-in-chief of the Journal of Medicinal Chemistry. And that's until now. So we talked about the ugly truth, why curcumin and turmeric have struggled to produce results in human studies, why, you mute them out, there we go, why we're not seeing the same powerful results in people as we were seeing in these studies is due to that bioavailability. And in fact, some of the researchers and scientists are saying we just need to quit studying curcumin. We need to quit studying turmeric because we can't get physiological changes. We cannot get therapeutic levels into the bloodstream to make changes. And again, that is until now. So we're super excited to share a testimonial of a new technology that has just surfaced. Actually, this technology is out of Germany called BioMS. And with this BioMS, we're taking this curcumin and we're increasing absorption up to 277 times more bioavailable than turmeric or even standard curcumin preparation. So it looks a little bit like this bottle here, this little liquid substance. Doesn't look very powerful, but I'm going to share with you just how powerful this technology is. 10 drops of this technology is equivalent to about 17.5 pounds of turmeric root. So I don't know about you, but I have no desire to consume 17 pounds of turmeric root to get a therapeutic effect. The other thing about turmeric is it's rapidly excreted. So you couldn't just do 17 pounds once a day. You'd have to do that multiple times a day to have a therapeutic level of curcumin in your bloodstream to do much good. This was achieved, of course, through science. We're going to talk about the science. It was developed at the University of Hohenheim in Germany with funding from the Federal Ministry for Education and Research. This unique technology is actually 3 technologies in one. And we're going to talk about that. First, they take the turmeric root, but they extract just the curcumin 1 out of, remember all those components of turmeric we talked about at the first few slides. They extract just the curcumin component of that, and then they apply a nanotechnology. And we're going to talk what that means in just a second. So they take those particle size and they shrink them very, very microscopic in size. And not only that, but then they wrap these curcumin particles, which are still a lipid-like substance, like we talked about earlier, right? They wrap them in a micelle, which is actually a carrier that's able to transport this lipid-like substance in fat or oil or water easily into the bloodstream and easily into the cells, and at the size of less than 30 nanometers. And so this is kind of what that would look like. This, the red is the curcumin nanoparticle, and then they wrap it and they create a micelle around it. And this is the different patents that this technology has over here. This biomimetic technology increases the bioavailability of this all-natural active lipid ingredient by up to 277 times and dramatically improve its effectiveness in the body. And so this, wish this video was a little faster, right? But that's the end result. Let's speed it up. So it wraps around the nanoparticle of the curcumin and is able to carry it, again, easily into the bloodstream and easily to the cells. Just kind of give you an idea what a nanometer is, right? It's hard to wrap my mind around how small a nanometer is. So if we look at a red blood cell is 7,000 nanometers wide. The particle size we're talking about here is less than 30 nanometers. A DNA strand is, I have to move my computer around here, guys. 2.5 nanometers wide. Human hair is 50 to 100,000 nanometers wide. A pinhead is 1 million nanometers wide. A sheet of paper is 75,000 nanometers thick. The particle size that we're talking about is less than 30 nanometers in size. The advantage of using nanotechnology is it improves the solubility, the absorption, the bioavailability of the active ingredients, especially ones that are poorly soluble in water, achieves target action on cells or tissues, promotes the passage of the active ingredient through the epithelial and endothelial barriers, achieves the passage of macromolecules to intracellular action sites, so we're getting inside the cells, decreases the possibility of toxicity because we're using a very small amount, and it protects the curcumin from breakdown or degradation. So the micelle is this spherical structure that are soluble in water on the outside and carry a substance that is soluble in fat on the inside. The advantage of wrapping these particles in a micelle, it's resistant to gastric juices, right? And the hydrochloric acid in the stomach and the enzymes, greater absorption, faster absorption, higher plasma levels, and increase in tissue levels. This is some of the science. If you're a science nerd like me, you say, well, I want to see the research on this. We're happy to get that to you. And there is really good research on this technology as well. Proven with scientific studies. This is just an example of, we talked about the bioavailability of curcumin by itself. So this is a study where they did a single oral dose of 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams of curcumin, okay? Then they measured the plasma concentration over a period of time. So here is the curcumin, single oral dose of curcumin, and this, ta-da, is the peak, the pinnacle of its performance was about an hour later, and that's what it achieved, right? I don't know about you, but that doesn't look terribly exciting, right? That we achieved that level in an hour, but look what happens by 2 hours. is not even there anymore, and certainly gone within 3 hours. So that is traditionally what they see with curcumin, and we can understand why some of these doctors, these scientists are saying it's not even worth studying curcumin or turmeric anymore because we can't get therapeutic levels in the bloodstream, right? And so then we hear the argument, well, my curcumin or my turmeric adds black pepper extract. Has anybody used versions that have black pepper extract, or bioperine, it's called? And so we'll look at a study where they've added that, okay? This is the same 2,000 gram curcumin with 20 milligrams of piperine. And we do see, this looks kind of impressive compared to the other line, right? We get this spike at just a little under an hour of levels of curcumin in the bloodstream. But we're also hindering, to do this, we're hindering, the black pepper extract hinders phase 2 detoxification in the liver. So it actually slows down the liver's ability to detox the curcumin briefly. And then as you can see, within an hour, it plummets back down, okay? Within 2 hours, we're down here. Within 3 hours, we're out of the bloodstream. So did we achieve much? Questionable. We did raise plasma levels briefly, very briefly, but then it's gone. So now we're going to talk about why this technology that we're talking about is much different. So this is a study that we showed the paper earlier. The research shows that we're reaching levels with this technology. The orange is the man, the pink is females, way up into here, okay? Comparatively, the native curcumin in men and women is down here. We can't even really visualize it coming off of the baseline, but that's pretty traditional for curcumin, traditional curcumin or turmeric. So we're achieving levels up here, but what's more exciting than just the levels we're achieving in the bloodstream is look at the time scale here. We're looking at 4 hours. We're looking at 8 hours. We're looking at 12, 16, 20, 24 hours, and we're still having therapeutic levels of curcumin measurable in the bloodstream. When before now, we would be lucky to see any in the bloodstream within 3 hours. So this is remarkable. Not even for a natural supplement, even for a pharmaceutical medicine would be phenomenal to have a technology that allows that to be in the bloodstream for this length of time. And so we're getting levels like this, where normally, in my experience as a clinician, I would have to dose curcumin at very high levels multiple times a day. So our patients would take literally handfuls of capsules multiple times a day to try to achieve a therapeutic level in the bloodstream and try to keep any curcumin in the bloodstream for any length of time, right? And this study is showing these levels with one single serving of the BioMS technology. And how do they know it reaches your cells? Well, they've done studies. This particular study here, they measured, they were, one of the things that's always a challenge is getting a natural substance or a drug, if that's your target, is into the brain, right? The brain has what they call a blood-brain barrier, which doesn't allow very many things to cross, right? And usually for good reasons, very protective, right? Where there's a lot of things that we come in contact with, we don't really want into our brain. We don't want to get through our bloodstream into our brain. But curcumin, with all of its benefits, we would kind of like to see that get up into the brain cells. And so this particular study, they were looking at glioma, which is a tumor in the brain. And basically to shorten it, they used the BioMS technology, and then they took the tumors out, they dissected the tumors, and there were high levels of curcumin in these cancer cells, in these brain cancer cells, basically. So not only do we know we can get it in the bloodstream, which the study showed, but we are actually getting it into the brain, and we are getting it into cells. Nanomicelles are able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier and act where they are needed. They act on neuroinflammation, and this is why we do another talk at other times on, specifically on neurodegenerative diseases. And there's studies showing that we're impacting neuroinflammation in the brain. It blocks free radicals. It activates mitochondrial biogenesis. That's the powerhouse of our cells that generates the energy in our cells. And biogenesis means creating more, creating new. So we're creating new mitochondrial in our cells. And it activates neurogenesis, which is repair and creation of new neurons. which is super exciting for all kinds of neurodegenerative diseases. And so I'm going to share with you just a couple of patients of mine, of some lab work that I'm excited about. And then we're going to, if we have them online, have a couple of testimonials just of people that have tried this technology and what they've experienced. And then we'll wrap it up and we'll let you guys get back to the rest of your evening. So this patient is a 43-year-old female with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And what that means is she has an autoimmune disease where the immune system gets confused and thinks her thyroid is the bad guy, right? And starts attacking the thyroid tissue. This can create hyperthyroid, too much hormone, create hypothyroid is the tendency over time because it actually destroys that thyroid tissue and it can't produce the thyroid hormone like it once did. So I'll try to make this short and not too complicated and boring, but the thyroid hormones were very low. She was very hypothyroid, the T3 and the T4 are the thyroid hormones. These two numbers here are the thyroid antibodies. When these are high, we know the immune system is attacking the thyroid gland. And this particular number here, we like to see less than 9. Hers was 620. But we know this was a pretty aggressive attack, right, by the immune system. If we go down here, we skip down. These two numbers down here are inflammatory markers in the bloodstream. C-reactive protein and the SED rate were super high. Okay, now at this time, by November, we had not incorporated the BioMS. We were just using some thyroid hormone, doing some lifestyle things. We were able to improve the hypothyroid. So that's something to be excited about, but we weren't terribly effective at lowering the autoimmune disease, right? Look at the numbers. We came down slightly, but nothing to be terribly excited about. And look at the inflammation markers, down slightly again, but not a whole lot. So this was 4 months later after we implemented the BioMS. Look at her thyroid antibody levels. This is the autoimmune portion of her condition, plummeted dramatically, okay? The other thing is look at her inflammatory markers between these two dates, also plummeted dramatically. In fact, to the point that now, when she once was hypo, she's now hyper because she's on thyroid hormone, and now she doesn't need it, or she needs much less than she needed earlier. And so we actually had to adjust the thyroid hormone, take her off of that because she's now doesn't need it. Her thyroid's working better, right? And now we have a problem. We're over medicating basically with thyroid hormone. So that was pretty phenomenal. This patient here, a 56-year-old male with diabetes, hyperlipidemia, and rheumatoid arthritis, another autoimmune disease. Just briefly, A1C, which is a blood sugar, right? 3-month average dropped from a 7.4 to 5.6. Cholesterol dropped from 286 to 209. Triglycerides dropped. LDL 143 to 111. Let's skip down here. Look at his inflammatory markers. C-reactive protein dropped from a 16 to a 6. SED rate from a 23 to a 5. And this was 3 months in between these two numbers here. And that's the only thing new we added in between these two dates was the BioMS technology. The other exciting factor is that on November when we started, one of the blood tests we ran is called a rheumatoid factor, which when it's elevated lets us know this patient likely has rheumatoid arthritis, right? When we did a follow-up rheumatoid factor in February, this test was now negative, meaning it was not identifying this patient as having rheumatoid arthritis. And probably a big component of that is the immune system calmed down and the inflammation dramatically calmed down. Not to mention the improvements in blood sugar. Anytime we can lower blood sugar, anytime we can lower insulin, we're going to lower inflammation as well. And so anyway, I flew through that and I wanted to get to any questions we might have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and just take a peek here in the questions. Lisa, did we have anything?
I don't see any questions here, but those are some pretty amazing results that are on those two patients. That's pretty neat to see.
That's powerful.
I really love, it is powerful. I love lab work. I love diagnostic work, where we can see on paper, I guess it's because I'm in Missouri, the show me state, right? I want to see the changes. And seeing lab work change that dramatically gets me excited. Of course, I want to see symptomatic improvement, but a lot of times when we take something new, we think we might feel a little bit better, right? And sometimes we're wondering, well, is this because I just want to feel a little bit better? Is this because I'm hoping I'm going to get better? Is this a placebo effect of what I'm doing, whether it's a medication or a natural supplement? But we can't argue with number changes like that. And one exciting thing about this is there's so many natural supplements that are out there that we take because we want to be healthy, right? Or a vitamin or an herb because we've heard good things about it. But a lot of times we don't feel tremendously different. Anybody done that? I'm taking this because I'm supposed to. Everybody raise their hand. I'm taking this because I'm supposed to take it, or it's good for me, but I really don't feel anything. That's one thing that's super exciting about this is you're not going to take this and not feel some benefits, and usually quickly experiencing changes in the body. And I'm super excited about that also because of my history of using curcumin and turmeric for over 20 years personally and in practice, being able to see something that works this well. It's almost like this is what the science said curcumin and turmeric could do, but we couldn't do it before, right? We couldn't get this into the body and do those amazing things the studies said it could do in the lab. But that's changed now because of this technology. So that's super exciting. Let's see here. Looking at Sue mentioned getting amazing results for neuropathy. That's exciting. And I had a patient today that reported that we couldn't actually had neuropathy in his feet of unexplained origin. We couldn't tell where the neuropathy came from. He did have quite a bit of arthritis in his feet and ankles as well. Weren't sure where the neuropathy was coming from. It wasn't diabetes, things like that. But I'm like, well, let's put him on the curcumin, right? That's my go-to now is, well, let's just try the BioMS, almost no matter what the condition is. So we put him on that, and he just came back and see me. It was only 2 weeks later. He's still having a little bit of pain in his feet, but his nerve pain, his nerve symptoms are gone. And he was just flabbergasted by that. But can pregnant women take this? Of course, we always have to say, talk with your doctor, right? I can say that I use it with my pregnant patients, but that might be different than your particular needs or what your particular doctor might suggest. What if you're taking seizure meds and want to stop? That was a direct message. Well, I can't really instruct you on that, right? But I can instruct you to look on PubMed and search curcumin and seizures, curcumin and epilepsy. I think you'll be excited about the research that is out there. I'm going to see here. I was going to turn it over to Julie if she's on. I love Julie's story because it's not our typical curcumin story. And I think we get turmeric sometimes gets put in the inflammation, arthritis, pain, fibromyalgia, neuropathy box. But it's so much more than that. Julie, are you on?
I am.
Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you for having me. I haven't shared my story in the group. So, on a Zoom, so I'm excited. So quick background, Julie, I am 47 now. I think I'm 47. I just had a birthday, so I forget how old I am. Gotta work on that. So I am a lifelong asthmatic. They actually didn't really know what was wrong with me right when I was younger. I just kept having asthma attacks or breathing issues. And I would be rushed to the emergency room. And back in the good old days, they would give you a shot of adrenaline. If you're old enough and you know what those are, that's what you had. So if you got an adrenaline shot at 10 o'clock at night because you couldn't breathe, you weren't sleeping. It was great times. I remember this happening up until I was probably about 7, and they finally figured out what I had. But I originally had said poo-poo to the product because I was already taking turmeric, and well, I was already going and getting it at Costco in bulk, and here I am. But a few years ago, I was traveling in India. I slipped, I fell, I broke my wrist, didn't know I broke my wrist. And so coming back to the States, another month had passed. I didn't know it was broken. I finally broke down, went to the doctor because I couldn't even lift a gallon of milk. And it was broken. Well, now we're trying to treat a broken hand that's been healing wrong and all the fun things that go with it, right? Well, I'm gonna go get her. I like to stay busy. I followed the doctor's rules, did all the physical therapy, still had a lot of pain, still had all of that. Fast forward to a year ago, I rolled a razor. I don't know if you guys know what those are. Rolled it into a ditch 5.5 feet deep, landed on its side. The only way to get me out was to hoist me up by my body. I weigh 145 pounds. So that was 145 pounds hanging on my shoulder, right? My elbow, everything. A lot of pain. So they were like, this is really showing a lot of promise for pain. And I'm like, fine, okay, whatever, I'll do it. So I did it. But you guys, I got to be honest with you. I wasn't seeing a lot of pain relief, not like I was hoping, right? Because everybody was talking about pain relief, but we were in the middle of a wildfire allergy season and I'm an asthmatic. So we got to remember that, right? And I was thinking to myself, I haven't had an asthma attack. It was weird to me. So that was like in October. Like right at the end of September, the beginning of October. And that was just, I think about 30-ish, well, a little bit more than 30 days on the product. I haven't taken an allergy pill since October. And I used to kill my liver on a regular during allergy season in the fall and the spring, because I would take it in the morning and at night. And it literally says take once a day. But I couldn't, my face would be swollen. I couldn't breathe. It was terrible. I would be missing work. I'd be hooked up to a nebulizer. And I like my PTO days for PTO, right? Pay time off for vacation and fun, not because I'm sick. So I was like, holy cow. Then, I mean, months go by, right? And we're in December and I haven't refilled my inhaler, which you guys, inhalers, I don't know if you have an asthmatic or you know an asthmatic, but inhalers destroy your oral health, your teeth. And I don't know if you've seen my pictures in the group. I'm super vain about my teeth. They're straight, they're white, and I want them in my mouth until I'm good and dead. But I've had a lot of teeth just decay because the steroids, the medications that are in the inhalers, if you don't immediately brush your teeth or rinse your mouth out, it actually destroys the enamel on your teeth and it destroys them. So I have a few missing teeth. Not happy about that because, again, one of the things in life I'm vain about are my teeth. So I'm excited because now I haven't had to use my inhaler. And I just got over a round of influenza A. Dr. J can tell you influenza A attacks your lung function. And I survived a pretty hefty, like, it felt like near-death experience with this flu, but I could still breathe. The only thing that I did different during this bout of flu was I increased my doses of the turmeric, the curcumin. I was drinking it 4 times a day, dropping the 10 drops. Here it is. If you can see it, I know it's not the prettiest looking thing because it looks like a really bad urinalysis, but it's my curcumin in my mug. And I would fill this up, which it's got 30 ounces of water, and I'd put the 10 drops in and drink that 4 times a day. I can't go without it. And I can't probably talk enough about it, especially when you have asthma. I mean, it's eventually helped with the pain. I mean, I can bend my wrist, I can use my shoulder again. Yay, I'm excited. But when you have something that there's no cure for, you just have to like learn to live with it, manage it, don't go outdoors. And I live in Arizona. I like hiking. I like being outdoors. I like doing those things in life. So having downtime is not, I'm not wired that way. I don't know what that is. I probably have some ADD. I don't know, but I don't sit still. And so here I am. And I'm still drinking it. I'm in week 2, right? What would be week 2 of the flu, but by my 4th day, the fever was gone. I was able to, get up and move around because the body aches are pretty minimal at that point. But, and then I was back to work by the 5th day. So I'm not saying that this is a cure for the flu, but you guys, if you know anybody that gets the flu, run them your drop a bottle, go without it, get them the help because it went through my house like wildfire, and everybody was doing the 4 doses and taking this, because after 4 days, I mean, we haven't had the flu, knock on wood, in a lot of years, but this was the only thing that got us through. But I could talk about a million things about why I love this. I've dogs, I've got a granddaughter, but for anybody that's got asthma or allergies, if you love them, give them your bottle, give it to them as a gift. Just tell them you're welcome and walk away. They will thank you as soon as they feel the effects, because I've been taking turmeric for probably 5 or 6 years. I've never not been able to not have an inhaler always. And I have about 5 of them always on the ready, right? You've got your purse inhaler, you've got your bathroom inhaler, the one next to your bed. You can't leave it in the car in Arizona, but you have them everywhere, because you just don't know if you're going to have an attack, right? And so when you're exercising, I used to not be able to do a Peloton ride without having to pre-medicate with my inhaler. And now I can do an entire ride and not need it before, during, or after. So I know whatever this is doing, I made it to this far in life where it's like, every person that has any kind of a breathing thing, tell them about it, share it with them. I mean, it's like the best gift that I've given myself. So now, instead of inhalers being stockpiled in my house, I have about 20 bottles of curcumin, one in the car, one at work, one in my work bag. I just will drop it in, whatever. So I know I kind of rambled a little, but sorry.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. And, that's not something she expected. I also have noticed that in our kids, Emma, who's 11, she uses it, and it's dramatically lessened her need for medication, both with either nebulizer or inhaler. And kids can take it. We've had on here, we've had testimonials from our dog owners, right, that have seen benefits in their fur babies. And so there's just almost no one or no animal that this couldn't be beneficial for. So thank you, Julie. And I was excited to ask Rick to come back. Rick has been on the Ask the Doctor before and shared some really amazing things about his blood sugar and his health changes. But he recently shared with me something about an eye situation. And so I was asked Rick to come on and share a recent testimony.
How are you tonight?
Thanks for being on, Rick.
Oh, you know what? Thank you for the opportunity. I was just sitting here thinking, as Julie was talking, up here in this wonderful province of British Columbia, we're in the middle of cherry blossom season. And I would be in the house with my eyes falling out, my nose running, and I would be grumpy. I don't need any extra help being grumpy, but I would be really grumpy. And my wife would say, it's time for a divorce. And I haven't had any of that. So Julie, thank you for reminding me of that. Another thing, this month, 45 years ago, I joined the network marketing industry. And for probably the last 20 years, I've been involved in health and wellness. And there's a lot of snake oil out there. And there's a lot of stuff that works. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work. There's a lot of stuff that sits on the shelf for a long, long time. But when I started on the Vitify products, I went in, like I said, with absolutely no expectations. And 3 or 4 days in, the pain in my right knee disappeared, and I stopped taking 10 to 12 Aleve a day. But over the years, I developed diabetes, and I went to the eye doctor one time, and he sent me right away to an eye surgeon. And she was telling me that I had some. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just going to sort of kind of paraphrase it. I had some blood vessels blown up in my eyes, and it was creating inflammation and swelling. And I couldn't understand for the life of me why I had so many eye headaches. Well, I went one time, and she says, okay, so here's the deal. We're going to stick a needle in your eye and poke some medicine in it. And okay, so I'm a pretty tough guy, but I'll tell you what, if I stub my toe, I'm done for a week. So when she said needle in the eye, I said, not in this lifetime. And she said, no, you're going to have it. So I said, okay, fine. So they throw the freezing in, and here comes this needle. It's about 4 feet long, but it's really only about a half an inch long. And I thought, oh God, this is going to kill me. Well, it wasn't that bad. So I accepted that. But for about 5 or 6 days after that, every time I turned my head, the medicine would go across my pupil. And as it was working its stuff, and I thought, oh, come on, I don't want this. So back and forth, I went with one eye, then the next eye, then the next eye, then the next eye. And just the last time I went was early February. I hadn't started on the Curcumin yet. And she said, next time you come, you're getting another needle. And I said, oh, no, you know what? Maybe I'll die before then. Okay, because it's not pleasant, right? So, yes, what was it? Yesterday morning? Yesterday morning, I went, and they do the cohesive scan, and they put eye drops in, and they make you read the chart. I go in and I sit there, and I walk into where she's going to examine me, and here's the tray with the needle and the freezing and the iodine, and I thought, oh, God, get me out of here. So she comes in and sits down and looks at the pictures, looks at me, says, no needle. And I said, why not? She says, well, the swelling is gone. And I said, nah, now you just pulled my leg. You want to give me the shot. She says, no. So I just happened to, my friend Olivia sent me a brochure. So I pulled it out and said, well, maybe this has something to do with it. And she looked at it and said, oh, well, maybe, but maybe you just smartened up a bit. I said, no, there's no smartening me up. I'm 68 years old. I've earned the right to do what I want when I want. So, but the amazing thing is in Canada, our doctors are paid by the government. So they unfortunately, they're not allowed to think outside the box or let you know that they're thinking outside the box. But 2 doctors now in less than a month have said, keep taking it. So here's my take on it. If your product speaks for itself and the results speak for themselves, don't interrupt it. Let it do what it's doing. I'll tell you what, go to your worst enemy. Show him the product, him or her the product, get them on it. Might not want them for a friend, but they're going to thank you for it. And thank you for letting me share. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick. That's amazing. I know that it's not easy to change pressure and inflammation in the eyes. So that's really an amazing testimony. And what a great thing to be able to preserve and retain and improve eye health, right? So many health conditions and inflammatory conditions and blood sugar problems impact the eyes and the tiny blood vessels in the eyes. So I'm super excited, Rick, that that's helping. And I can't wait to hear the next story that you have to share with us. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, that's really all I had to share. I want to turn this back over to Anna. Any last second questions, and then we'll just wrap it up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jeremy. That was wonderful. So it wasn't the ugly of now with the product we have. It was the ugly that we were dealing with before the modern technology stepped in and took over with this amazing product. The results that we're getting is just phenomenal. This last week, I've gotten 4 different texts from my customers sharing with me just things that make you cry, and it's just like, I am so thankful that somehow this ancient remedy connected with modern technology and has changed so many people's lives, and we're only getting started. So if you were invited here by somebody who cared enough to invite you, get back with them, get on the product, get your results started. You won't be sorry, I promise, because none of us are sorry we got started and started getting our results. Again, we can't diagnose, treat, say we cure, prevent any of that stuff. But what we can say is you have nothing to lose but your symptoms, because our products come with a 30-day money back guarantee. So go do the do, make it happen. And let's hear what your story is next time. How's that sound?
Sounds good, Anna. And I want to let you know that we do have some Facebook groups if you're on Facebook.
Yes.
You can be a part of a community that's not only sharing the information and the technology, but sharing testimonies as they come in of people's lives being changed. Make sure you reach out to the person that invited you and ask them to, or ask to be invited to one of our awesome testimonial groups.
Yes. Yes. And the doctor's always sharing in there. And in a couple of days, you'll have this video in there to listen to. So, and if you know somebody who needs to hear what we talked about tonight, we can get, just let us know and we can get you that recording as well. So, y'all take care. Have a wonderful night. Be blessed. And we look forward to talking. Oh, what we going to talk about next week, doctor?
You know what? I did not get that put together. I was supposed to, and I forgot. So,
That's all right.
I'll have to get that out to everybody.
Not a problem. We'll update you all soon on what we're going to talk about next week. Take care. Be blessed.
Love y'all. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Rick. Bye, guys.
Thank you all. Those were great testimonies.